Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansu, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show. We'll cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see it. And today we got a hell of a show in store for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So yesterday, Stephen A. Smith visited Cris Carter's show called Fully Loaded. And they had a 2.5-hour sit down where they discussed the sports business, sports media, gave some great stories and all of that great stuff. Very interesting interview. It was quite long though, 2.5 hours, but they had a lot of gems in there. I suggest you guys go check it out for yourselves. Great show that they had there. So, as you guys know, about 2 weeks ago, Cris Carter had made news about some comments that he made on Skip Bayless. And I think at the time, that's when we found out Skip Bayless was no longer going to be on Undisputed. And as you know, Skip Bayless has had his brush-ups with various athletes throughout the course of his television career. And one of those people was Cris Carter himself. Some of you may be unaware of this, but I know some of you will be. Cris Carter actually used to make guest appearances on ESPN First Take a number of years ago, at least 7-8 years ago. And at the time, Skip Bayless was younger, he was more energetic, and he was ready to go to battle with any and everybody. Especially around that Tim Tebow era, the Tim Tebow frenzy, it was the Tim Tebow hysteria. It was unlike anything I had ever seen, right? And Skip Bayless was a staunch Tim Tebow supporter, right? And at the time, Cris Carter was being brought on the show to give his NFL expertise. And in one particular segment, Skip Bayless essentially said to him, like, look, something, I guess this is why you didn't win a Super Bowl. And apparently what happened was during a commercial break, Cris Carter stood up and basically warned Skip Bayless that if you ever disrespect me like that again, I'm going to snatch you up out of that chair, right? So what we want to do is we want to quickly play his original comments on Skip Bayless to give this show more context, and I'm going to come back and continue on. Take a listen to what he had to say there originally about that altercation between himself and Skip Bayless. Take a listen to that.
A number of years ago, I was on a show with Stephen A. and Skip Bayless. And
both of them?
Yeah, both of them, on their show.
Yeah.
I was working at ESPN doing NFL. I would do Mike Greenberg after doing my NFL stuff, and then I would come on there because Stephen A. and I were friends. I didn't know Skip personally, and I'm going to be honest with you. Skip Bayless is not one of my favorite people.
I can imagine.
Okay. So I'm on there doing the show. I do the show and everything. And then all of a sudden, this is when the Tebow phenomenon was going on. And he was a huge Tim Tebow guy. You know, this guy is this.
I remember it. Dude.
Okay.
Oh.
So I come on there on a Monday, and, you know, we're trading barbs and everything. We go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I just level set it and was like, listen, if throwing the football is important in the NFL, Tim Tebow will never be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yep. So
he got defensive, and then he came back and said, well, that's why you didn't win a Super Bowl. Okay.
So what'd you say?
Which got nothing to do with nothing.
Agreed.
We went to commercial break.
So you didn't say nothing before commercial. He just said his...
No.
Okay. Good man.
I took my earpiece out, and I told him, I'll never be on your show again.
Yeah.
And if you ever say anything like that to me again, I'll punch you right in the face.
Good for you. That's why I like you. What did he say?
He couldn't say anything because I got up. I'm off the set. Then the producers came. Hey, Chris, no, it's not necessary. Then the people came from the back. Stephen A. was like, Chris, man, this is not. I was like, bro, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not doing nothing. I'll never be on another show. I won't be on this show ever again as long as he's on here.
Correct.
So then come 3 or 4 years later, he goes to Fox.
Mm-hmm.
I leave ESPN. The guy that was directing the show was hiring the people at Fox.
Okay.
So he's like, man, I know, man, y'all had a dust up. Do you have any problem with him? I said, I don't have no problem with him.
No.
I don't have no problem with him
Pay
at all.
me, I'm good.
No. Well, we talked to him. He doesn't have a problem with you. Why would he?
Yeah.
Why would he have a problem with me? So I had very little interaction with him when I went to Fox, but I knew that it's like playing in a card game that the deck is tricked up.
So you heard what Cris Carter had to say. So what happened? So yesterday, Stephen A. Smith comes onto the show. And Stephen A. Smith just so happened to be on the set that day when this exchange took place. And Cris Carter basically was trying to get Stephen A. Smith to vouch for him and basically prove that he was not lying. So Stephen A. Smith begins to weigh in on what essentially took place that day and basically began to explain this psychology behind some of the things Skip Bayless says. So for those of you who didn't hear Stephen A. Smith's explanation about what took place between Cris Carter and Skip Bayless, want to play for you now. We're going to come back and give you guys our closing thoughts. Take a listen to that there.
And he's not faking that. He's not.
So when he got personal with Chris about that, he, in his heart, believes he's 100% right.
Well,
and he reacts.
That's different.
Okay.
Because what he was doing was he's having an argument with Chris. And where I would tell him he's crossed the line is, how come you can't just make your argument? Why does it have to be about what he did and achieve?
Right.
Like if I'm arguing with Chris, I would never dream to say, forget Chris. Say I don't know Chris, but I'm talking to a wide receiver with his credentials. I'm not going to be like, you didn't win a Super Bowl championship, so you're nothing. Now, if he is attacking somebody who didn't win a Super Bowl championship and then saying, well, you know what, they ain't anything because they didn't win a Super Bowl championship, then I have an obligation to point out, wait a minute, bro, you didn't win one either. But I'm not going to use it to denigrate him. We're having an argument and a discussion and a debate about a subject matter,
Yes.
and it needs to be relevant to it. And just because you're getting the best of him with an argument doesn't give anybody a license to turn around and get personal.
So if he's so different or principled, or when he comments about, he just said, I don't remember that. Not it didn't happen. He's like, I don't remember Chris saying that to me. He can't not remember it. He just don't want to go there, don't want to talk about it.
I guess so.
I'm assuming. We're
different.
assuming.
That's different.
Yeah.
I can't speak to that
Correct.
because, I mean, whatever evidence y'all got on y'all own with that, you have. I'm telling you that he believes he knows.
Yeah.
And he believes when he says something, he means it.
Right.
Is what I'm saying to you. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you know, Jamie and the crew, they brought me to Fox.
Sure.
And that was one of the first meetings. I said, do you have a problem with Skip? I said, no, I don't have no problem with Skip. No, absolutely not. And Skip had told them that.
Right.
Too. So we had squashed it.
Right.
But, of course, he didn't want to remember. Another teammate, because people ask me all the time. You know, I've had some great teammates, 8 Hall of Fame teammates.
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say there about that exchange that took place between them. You also heard him talk about how he said Skip Bayless really means what he be saying. I 100% agree. I think Skip, for the most part, believes what he said. Like when he was getting on the, I think he believes those things. Now, does Skip Bayless use opinions, strong opinions that he has, that he notices does well, that makes a lot of money for networks and milks the hell out of those opinions? Absolutely. Absolutely. He did it with Tim Tebow. He did it with Tom Brady. He did it with LeBron James. He did it with Russell Westbrook. Otherwise, you think he was talking about Russell Westbrook unless people were tuning in? Of course he did. He does it with the Lakers. Yes, I think he believes what he says 100%. But I also think that he uses it as a way to make money and gain ratings. That's what he's always done, to be quite frank with you. So from that standpoint, I think Stephen A. Smith is on the money. In terms of what he said about Chris, these are things that Skip Bayless has said about other athletes, coaches, and he takes these cheap shots. You know, he takes these below the belt shots. It's something that we saw him do with Shannon Sharp over Tom Brady, and that was one of the final death blows in that relationship. It is who he is. So I think Stephen A. Smith was saying that it's not an act. These things that he says and does is truly how he believes, truly what he believes. That's really who the person is. Now, some people may think he's trolling or whatever it is, but that's what he believes. Stephen A. Smith is someone that has worked with him, believes that. I personally believe that. I've heard Skip Bayless on various shows get offended at the fact that you know, you would think that he's afraid of any athlete. He's got offended. He'll be slamming on the table. I resent that. I resent that. Are you saying I'm afraid of him? I'm not afraid. Somebody that he has beef with, he will invite him on the set. He's done it many times. He did it with Terrell Owens. He did it with Chad Johnson. He did it with Chris Bosh. He's done it with so many people. And he sat right across the desk from him. Right? He said, right, he wasn't running from them. He wasn't ducking them. He wasn't hiding from them. Now, Skip Bayless ain't no 6'7" dude that's going to beat you up. Nah, but he's willing to stand his ground on any position that he takes. Whether you like it or not, the guy is willing to do it. Whether you think he's trolling or whatever the case may be, he does it. Now, from time to time, does he troll? As I said it just a few moments ago, yes, he does. With LeBron, like sitting there, LeBron is drinking wine on the court. These are things that are not very important. But given the fact that he knows that it's going to make him money and people are going to tune in and people already know him as somebody that's not a fan of LeBron James, when he says these things, he's going to keep doing it because he knows people are going to tune in. So, look, that's my take on the situation. Whether it happened, how Chris Carter's saying it happened or not, I don't know. I wasn't there, right? I wasn't there. We just produced this show to kind of give you Stephen A. Smith's side on the story. So what I want to know from you guys is two things. Number one, do you believe that the story went down the way Chris Carter said it? And number two, do you think Skip Bayless really believes the things that he's saying, or do you think that it's an act that he's putting on? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comments section, and we catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.